Total War: Three Kingdoms is a sweeping romantic epic about destiny, brotherhood, and the high-minded ideals of ancient Chinese chivalry. Naturally, I chose the bandits. Deng Jian, a woman whose approach to conflict resolution can be summarized as: if violence wasn't working, you simply weren't using enough of it. She's a bandit who has somehow convinced herself that she's an entrepreneur. The game begins with us being homeless in the mountains and surrounded by the entire Imperial army. Quite a typical day as a bandit, really. To show the local authorities that we mean business, Deng Jian immediately walks up to the first Han general she met and stabs him with a massive axe. Splendid. After solving our current housing crisis through the subtle art of a home invasion, I made trade agreement with the only faction on the entire map I can realistically trust, Zhang Yan. Why do I trust him? Simple. Racism.
Do you support racism?
Zhang Yan immediately decided to employ me on a mercenary contract against a guy I was already actively at war with, out of pure spite. With some local land acquired, I began moving west towards Dongzhou's territory. However, Dongzhou died. And to make matters worse, Yuan Shao immediately declared war on me on our first meeting. This caused me immense distress, not because of the imminent geopolitical threat, mind you, but because it meant I actually had to manually play a siege battle. I could have delegated it, but based on experience and first-grade reading comprehension, I could tell you that this word means that most of them were going to die. Now, that is a sacrifice
I am willing to make.
but time I simply cannot afford. I loaded up my siege towers and battering rams with the most expendable assets, a collection of men in green pajamas holding wooden clubs. They marched forward with nothing but their blunt weapons and a dream. The ones pushing the battering ram were systematically deleted, but the men in the towers had the immense privilege of actually making it onto the walls to fight fully armored Imperial spearmen. Against all physical logic, this resulted in a close victory. After taking the gate, because of our mercenary contract, I was given a choice to hand over this hard-earned settlement over to my employer, Zhang Yan. Now, why would I ever give up sovereign territory to a competitor, you ask? Because this number right here is slightly bigger. I'm a mercenary, not a geographer. A few turns later, we arrive at the literal heart of China, Jiangzhou, the capital of Dongmin and the current location of the literal emperor. Naturally, this meant I had to siege it. They counterattacked. I resolved this tactical dilemma by placing my front line in a formation that practically guaranteed that most of them were not going to survive the afternoon. While they were busy dying for minimum wage, one of my generals went into a formal duel. He won the duel and then proceeded to calmly walk back to the front lines.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
The rest of the battle was a blur of violence, but the spreadsheet at the end said I won. Upon winning, we captured Li Zhou, who was immediately acquainted with our new employment policy. The game then presented me with a massive narrative choice. Do I A. make Zhang Yan the protector of the emperor, B. take the position myself, or C. sack the imperial capital and take the cash? I chose number 3 because the other options do not actively involve immediate theft. Now sacking people's home will probably not result in my inevitable demise, right?
Foreshadowing is a narrative device.
I also decided to start spying, which led to a very pleasant surprise. It turned out Lu Bu, the undisputed best character in the entire game, was currently unhappy with his current employer. Historically, a self-inflicted ailment. I've recruited him immediately, recalled him to the capital, and made him my official heir. This restructuring made my previous heir, Lu Zhen, deeply upset. To fix her morale, I gave her the title of a patrol commander. She was immediately delighted. The next few turns, I stayed true to my title of an unhinged bandit. We finally crossed the thin line into a positive cash flow. I managed to secure my very first official tributary by offering Zhang Yan a small pile of food in exchange for a legally binding 2,300 monthly protection revenue. Securing the West brought me face to face with Dong Bai, Dongmin's daughter, and the living proof that nepotism is a viable career strategy. Zhang Jiang, being a strong, independent woman who has earned everything through hard work and aggressive arson, dueled her general and won. This is where my general, Ku Gong, my supposed ally and a man I paid to do exactly one job, decided to simply die. Most unfortunate, pathetic, really. Over the following turns, I was invited to join a coalition led by Yuan Shu. This was the 6th time he has asked me. The first 5, I ignored him. The 6th time, I accepted out of sheer exhaustion. The same reason anyone joins a pyramid scheme or a group project. Immediately upon forming this grand alliance, Yuan Shu decided to assassinate Liu Chong and declare himself Emperor of China. Wonderful. This was an exceptionally short coalition. With the West secured, I approached Dongmin with a rather lucrative proposition. He will give me monetary compensation and I will expand my protection racket. To demonstrate our new synergy, Lu Bu, the mightiest of assets,
They will carry us to victory.
oh, indeed you will. Engage in a battle against an enemy general. The duel lasted approximately as long as it takes for you to read the sentence. Lu Bu's axe met his neck with the force of a freight train that hates you personally. His head achieved orbit, his body achieved death, and his family achieved a very sad letter. After Lu Bu proceeded to rack up 250 kills entirely by himself, I knew this was the start of a beautiful relationship. The subsequent turns can be summarized quite simply. Lu Bu aggressively walked towards an enemy's element and liquidated it, while I calculated how much food Ma Teng's tributary status would cost me. Turns out it's exactly 32 food per turn. Unsurprisingly, Yuan Shu died and then immediately reincarnated and reappeared inside my own court looking for a job. I briefly considered giving him a middle management position once it opened up, but then I remembered exactly who he was.
You are an incredibly big piece of shit.
To clean up the rest of the board, Yuan Shao was successfully persuaded into a peace deal, so I could finally focus on my one and only hindrance, the Duchy of Wei. Now, if you expect a triumphant tale of dynastic dominance and imperial coronation, you are deeply mistaken. This is a case study in terminal campaign failure, how a microscopic administrative error can successfully end the campaign. You see, Zheng Jian's unique faction mechanic is infamy. And how do you acquire infamy, I hear you ask? Well, you have to systematically burn down people's house. Unsurprisingly, the local demographic doesn't appreciate that. Furthermore, I had also started to execute every single general I captured. Also unsurprisingly, the global community appreciated that even less. The game labeled these actions as war atrocities, whatever that means, and I'm sure systematically murdering every diplomat, administrator and military officer in China will have absolutely no impact on future networking opportunities. Oh. During the hiring spree, a narrative event triggered, where my scouts allegedly located a mythical legendary warrior. He turned up at my court as the town drunk. Excellent. I commemorated this occasion by giving 6 of my generals the magnificent opportunity to die for the company against a Wei army that possessed exactly 1,334 more men than us.
I'm in danger!
Faced with overwhelming tactical inferiority, I did the honorable thing, corner camped at the literal edge of the map and subjugated the game engine to unspeakable levels of hitbox abuse. I ordered Lu Bu to cycle charge their entire vanguard until they suffered terminal psychological trauma. I celebrated this triumph by executing every single captive. Unsurprisingly, this was not appreciated by the local leader. Over the following turns, we grabbed some land and took the city of Chen. I had to briefly pause my expansion because Gongsun Zan decided to violate our peace plan. While preparing my defense, I noticed my monthly revenue had almost collapsed.
Nice.
It turned out that Dongmin, my prized, heavily exploitable tributary, had somehow gotten dragged into a war against me, stopping his monthly payouts. I immediately dispatched Lu Bu to the west to personally persuade him to not ignore his monetary obligations. With both Gongsun Zan and the Duchy of Wei closing in from the east, I was forced into a rather expensive peace plan that I will guarantee will only last for approximately 10 turns. Seeing as I had still fundamentally not learned my lesson, I fought the Duchy of Wei, captured a general named Peng Ru, and immediately executed him. Yes. I believe I am noticing a pattern here. Back in the west, Lu Bu successfully managed to siege the Imperial capital and capture the Emperor. This milestone officially upgraded Zheng Jian's title to Bandit Queen. The game then presented me with a choice. Do I A. restore the fallen Han Empire with Emperor Shan? Or do I not do that? In a desperate effort to rebrand my image as perhaps something other than pure, unadulterated evil, I chose to restore the Empire. This massive public relations stunt did absolutely absolutely nothing for my diplomacy, except giving me a very cool new faction leader, who for some unknown reason was still labeled as a bandit king. Now between you and me, I don't think Creative Assembly thought this mechanic all the way through, or at all. But with the new highly legal emperor in charge, almost 100k in the bank, and a dream of uniting the land, I felt confident. Sure, I was hated by everyone on the map who wasn't an aggressive radical, but we were taking land until I looked at the diplomacy screen. Every face was red, even the factions I'd never met. Could this be related to my past actions? Being actively at war in every single cardinal direction that matters, I had to make highly rational, level-headed decisions, like entering into another staggeringly expensive peace plan with Dongmin and Cao Cao, only for Yuan Shao to immediately seize the opportunity and declare war on me the very next turn, and for Cao Cao to instantly confederate Dongmin. But here's the thing about running a nation state on what is essentially a crypto scam with more stabbing. Eventually, the other party notices that you have executed every diplomat they have ever sent. They stop negotiating, they stop accepting peace, they stop acknowledging that you are technically a legitimate government, and then in a beautiful moment of emergent gameplay, all of them declare war on you on the same turn. The market doesn't correct itself. The market hires all of its friends and shows up at your door with torches. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is called a liquidation event, which is a fancy way of saying that everyone you have ever wronged has formed a conga line of vengeance. I'm going to file for bankruptcy. And if you have a questionable fascination with anthropomorphic catwomen, then stick around for the next video. Anyways, thank you and have a good one. Bye.